r/AskReddit. What did that one teacher at your school get fired for? One of students was a son of the director/head of the board. I caught him cheating on my final exam. It was a definition question. And I found the edit web page where he copied the exact answer. I, of course, gave him an F at the end of that semester. Like a week later, I was told to leave. He passed my class with a C without my approval. Edit, just to clarify the situation. I saw him using his phone. I didn't tell him that. I just asked why he was looking under the desk. He said he was playing with his phone, followed by arguing that it's not against the rule to do so. The question was to define velocity. It's easy enough that you can phrase in your own words. Less than 5 words. He wrote 3 sentences, which was too good/detailed for a guy who doesn't even bother to memorize F=ma. The definition was copied from the textbook. It was copied from one of the first Google results. The kid was known to do such things by the students and the teachers. Other students didn't give a hit about him. And most teachers didn't want to deal with him. I didn't care to argue with them. Did you get mad? No. It was such a hit show that I was gonna quit after the first year or 2. I taught 7 different classes with 0 help from my mentors. In fact, one of them screamed at me in front of my students for giving her son a C on a quiz. I was extremely stressed out that I actually felt relieved. One of my former students later told me that the school went downhill so fast after I left. Not because of me, of course. But a bunch of teachers were also let go. And most of the talented students moved to different schools. Also, when I was let go, some teachers wrote fantastic recommendation letters. And most of students told me and made videos to show how much they miss me. It's been 5 years. But I still keep in touch with some of them. He died. I don't know why the school said they fired him. But whatever. This reminds me of a thread from several years ago about the dumbest rules in school, and someone said their school handbook said that if you committed suicide, you were expelled. Would certainly stop Hermione from going over the edge. Well, he was the janitor. But he got a 9th grader pregnant. Janitor got more game than me. He is a custodial engineer. Pedophilia. He went to jail. He was released years later. He became a teacher again. He reoffended. You can't make this hit up. Edit. This was in Canada for those asking. I don't understand how he got his job again either. Well, we better test if there is actually a problem here by letting him out, rehiring him and seeing what he'll do a 3rd time. It's just science. Her son, who attended the school, put KKK propaganda in black students' lockers as a joke and was subsequently expelled. She wasn't fired. But from what I can tell, she and the school both agreed that it would be better for her to leave after that incident. KKK pranks in the hood. Gone wrong. Gone XL. It's just a prank, bro. Being a ex-offender and not disclosing it to the Board of Education. Surprise. Getting caught with 50 gigs of child porn will destroy your coaching career, girls volleyball, basketball, and assisting with gymnastics. Edit. RIP. My inbox. Some backstory. He went through a criminal investigation for what was found on his computer and never told the school board what it was over. After he had to register, he never told the school. And since our school was aching for athletic personnel, no one asked. The teacher also had tenure. It wasn't until that he came invisibly drunk that the school dismissed him. But by that time several complaints had been filed about lewd comments he had made at the 6th grade females in the school. After firing him, a police officer came by to advise us that a week prior he had been charged for the child porn and was a registered ex-offender. There was a lot of hit the school got for letting him work for a week. Apparently he went on vacation during his court proceedings and kept it under wraps so he wouldn't lose his job. People tend to frown upon such behavior. Others smile though. My art teacher got busted with a nude painting he had done of a girl in my class. She was 18, but he still got fired. Did she pose for him, or did he paint it from his imagination? I'm trying to imagine which one is worse, and honestly, both feel so awful for his career in teaching. Harboring an escaped prisoner from another state. Edit, the story. Her name was Miss V, mid-30s. Mousy brown hair. And the biggest, kindest personality. She moved to my small town the summer before my senior year and got a job as a Spanish teacher at my little high school. She was from Kentucky, which is several states away from us, and her family still lived there. She used to let me drive to get fast food breakfast during first period as long as I picked up something for her. She didn't mind me taking smoke breaks as long as I didn't snitch when she lit up in the stairwell. She was awesome. I had her first semester for Spanish 2, which I aced, and second semester for Spanish 3. Mid-semester, she comes to class a little late one morning and tells us the deal. Her uncle had escaped federal custody in Kentucky and had fled. He wound up at her house, where she took him in. He's family, she said. Johnny Law comes to her house asking about him, and she denies. They leave, but monitor her and her place for a bit. They deduce his whereabouts and contact her again, letting her know that harboring a fugitive is a serious offense. She denies again. They leave while the warrant machine starts turning. She comes to school to find, if memory serves, Deputy US Marshals in the administrative office. She knows what's up, and she comes to class to brief us. She even asks if we have any questions. She was cool. A few minutes later, our principal, accompanied by our friendly school resource officer, knocks on the door and asks to speak with her for a moment and to grab her purse. Through tears, she tells us goodbye and that she's enjoyed being our teacher and wishing us luck in life. That was the last we saw of her. A friend claimed to have seen her being escorted out in handcuffs. Her house was vacant the next day. Her car disappeared. We were forbidden to discuss anything she'd shared with us in class, which means everyone knew about it immediately. We had a substitute the rest of the year. Edit 2, Electric Boogaloo. Okay, you guys demanded it, so I put my internet detective hat on, and I may have found her. I can't find any pictures, so I can't be 100% sure this is her. But it's not good. Folks, looks like she didn't do much time for the harboring charge. However, that set her on an ugly road. About 10 years later, she was arrested on charges of organized crime, drug distribution and conspiracy. Hillbilly heroin. Man, I hope it's not her, because it gets worse from there. But I can't say any more without doxing. So basically, thanks for making me get sad, you beautiful bastards. That is one of the more interesting answers here. Edit, when I said this there was literally only the first sentence here. No story. A lot better than the many pedophile teacher stories. Accidentally showed porn to the class, starring himself. Were you in the class? I can't even imagine how that would happen. No. Thank God. It was homemade. From what I heard it was just a video file on his laptop. That's about all I know. Other than that, if he wasn't fired, I wouldn't have the scholarships I have now. So it's a good thing my teacher was a perv, I guess. Edit, many people have asked me how him being fired helped with the scholarships. I would have failed the class if he hadn't been fired. But because he was, a lot of the assignments he assigned were randomly declared null, including a blog he made us run, a few essays, and some random assignments, many of which I never bothered to do, which brought my grade up significantly. Ended up with a C in the class. But because it was an honors class it was counted as a B. There's a full tuition scholarship you can get at my uni if you got all A's and B's in high school. I didn't know it at the time, but a bullet basically just gracefully osculated my taint. I know. It isn't spelled elementary. How do I reach these kids? I misinterpreted the rules. We had a sub in 8th grade science class. Black kid mentions that his uncle is homo-XL and dead. Sub responds, well, he's in hell because God hates gays and black people. The next day, the regular teacher said that the sub would never work at the district again. Sub responds, well, he's in hell because God hates gays and black people. How did he think this would go over? He probably thought God would protect him. HS English teacher was fired in the middle of class and later escorted off campus the morning after students found his Twitter account. He used this account to tweet at pornsters. post nude photos of himself, threaten politicians, desire to try cocaine, and post his Amazon wish list. Coolest part was we learned his nipples were pierced from the photos, which for years was a rumor. A second teacher was fired the same year over the summer for getting with a student. I was on the yearbook committee, and I had to Photoshop him out of the team photo since he was the coach. Edit: the Amazon wish list was bad because of what he had on it, not just cause he had one. Thought that was obvious. I like how Unpost his Amazon wish list is on the list, as if it's on the same level as threatening politicians and stuff. Depends on the wish list. Reaching up an 8th grader's skirt. He probably dropped his pen and it landed up her skirt. Logic. That one teacher was Mr. M. He was our 6th grade science teacher, and everyone loved him. He was a firm but fair teacher that made sure we all understood the material and even made learning 6th grade science material surprisingly enjoyable. Every Friday, he'd wear silly bright red shoes, and for birthdays, he would take a photo with the birthday kid with him standing on his head on their desk. Like I said, this guy was great. During one lesson, when I was in 8th grade, a student dropped a thermometer on the floor, broke it, and spilled a very tiny amount of mercury on the floor. Mr. M cleaned it up, but apparently not the right way, according to the administration. Once they caught wind of the story, he was forced to leave for apparently putting kids in danger, even though that amount of mercury would not even be close to dangerous. Everyone was crushed. A ton of students all banded together to buy him a new pair of red shoes. Last I heard from him, he got a great job in another school in the state where he's loved by the students there too. So that's good. I'm friends on Facebook with him. I should ask him about what's new when I can. Edit: I asked some people, not Mr. M, and it turns out it was because he didn't report the spill to the administration. Not just because he didn't clean it up correctly. Still hitty. But I figured I should clarify. Damn. So, we had an amazing 6th grade science teacher named Mr. H. Too. He was actually our teacher's aide when he was in college for my 3rd grade class and then in my 6th grade year. That was his 2nd year of teaching. Everyone loved him. He was silly and played guitar. Then after I graduated college, he got fired for transporting a minor for XL reasons and got sent to jail. We aren't sure exactly what happened, but it seems to be that he drove a 17-year-old over a county or state line to have XL relations or for someone else to. Sad day. Sounds like maybe he wanted to hook up with a girl that was underage in your state. So he drove her to a neighboring state where she would be considered of age before they hooked up. We had a runk teacher. The male teacher who ducked his way through most of the single and not single female staff. The male teacher who was way too handsy with the female students, and the male teacher who got into a literal fist fight with a student during gym class. None of them were ever fired. No problem with FKN around with adults. Touching students is a no-no. No problem with FKN around with adults. It's still a problem for workplace atmosphere and attitude. Especially if some of them weren't single. Forget teacher. The principal was fired for having predatory online conversation with who he thought was a young girl. Turned out it was a sting operation. And they traced his computer, and he was fired a few weeks later after being put on leave. Rumor has it his wife divorced him and took their young daughter and moved far away. It's always a sting operation. Number 14 Y/O is trying to duck your old, fat, bald-headed ass. You hear about it actually going down. That started over the internet all the time. So it's not always a sting opus. Ducking, like and subscribe.